All right, we're going to do a little panel here for you. We have a lot of questions that our Adventist kids were asking. There's no one better to answer those questions than our coaches here. So we'll do just a really quick introduction of our coaches, and then we'll get going.
What's going on, guys? I'm Chase. I'm going to be your strength and performance coach at the Advent camp here. That's what I'm taking care of here. Here we go.
I'm Jared Rusher. I'm the head men's basketball coach at Andrews University up in Berrien Springs, Michigan. I'll be going over primarily defense and scoring in the paint for you guys. So enjoy.
Hello, everyone. I'm Coach Jerry McFarland. I'm the head men's basketball coach at Washington Adventist University. Excited for the opportunity to be a part of this.
Brandon Broom, head coach at Walla Walla University. Excited to work with you guys.
Coach Shane Corneliuson, I'm the head assistant at Pacific Union College. Also, just really looking forward to giving you guys any knowledge that you need.
All right, we're going to start off with the hardest question of the day. What's the difference between Division 1, 2, and 3 basketball? And for us, we'll add NAI and JUCO as well. Who wants to start off with answering that?
Well, I'll take the easy part of it, and I'll pass it off to everybody else. The biggest difference is funding. All right, Division 1 and Division 2 can offer full scholarships, and Division 3 does not have scholarships. I'll let the other coaches handle the hard part, which is athletically the differences. Whoever wants to go with that.
When it comes to NAI, it varies from program to program. Some programs don't offer full scholarships. Some do offer full scholarships. Some offer partial scholarships. So it varies from institution to institution, and sometimes from conference to conference. So in terms of athletically, normally when you get Division I players, the biggest difference is the big men. The bigs on Division Ones are normally 6'10", very athletic, 6'8", very athletic. Wherein like on NAIA Division II, you can get away with 6'5", 6'6", 6'7" if they're extremely athletic. So that's the biggest difference is the number of players that you can get at a certain level.
One thing I like to tell guys, a lot of high school guys, in my experience, is that the first thing you got to realize, if you play any level of college basketball at all, you're one of the top 7% of basketball players in the United States of America. So that alone should tell you how competitive even the quote-unquote lowest levels of college basketball really are. And I hate even using the term lower levels or anything like that because, again, if you play any degree of college basketball, you're in the top 7% of basketball players in America. And so, like Coach Broom said, the number one difference is going to be funding. So for the guy, and like he said, the bigs is another difference. So for the guys who can afford to pay the 6'10", 6'11" guys that you see on TV, the game gets a little bit easier to be able to recruit there. But guards are a dime a dozen. And this is why it's so hard for guards to get on because literally, if you're not 6'6" with a handle like a guard and a jump shot like a wing or something like that, then you're automatically gonna fall down to the lower levels. The other parts of your game has to excel. You have to be a cut above the rest to play guard. So at the lower levels, one of the most difficult things is trying to find somebody 6'7" that's athletic, that can rim run, that can defend, that can do all those different things. Understanding that everybody's not Division I, and if you're playing any level of college basketball at all, you're top 7 in the country, and that should lead to the work ethic that you need to put in place in your daily structure. Anybody else? Shane?
I think all the coaches spoke specifically to like a lot of things that have to do with like how our jobs are a lot, and Coach Jared also spoke to what he was talking about with like that top percentage. But a big thing is also you got to look at what is required of each of these things. I mean, either way, at all these levels, at all college positions, like he started to allude to at the end, it's going to require a level of work that you may or may not be doing at that point. And you really have to be very self-aware. A lot of these guys that get to these points and are able to get to there have a baseline level of skill that got them as far as they could get them. But the ones who go really far are the ones who are able to have a really key self-awareness of where they need to improve at. And so you look at all these levels, you look at the Division I level, you've got the guys who are really self-aware and at least to a point, I'll say that, to a point, not always, but to a point. And then you've got guys who are physically gifted. Division I level athletes are coming out of high school grown men most of the time. I mean, I don't think anybody disagrees with that. Like a lot of the times these guys are coming out, like you're looking at them and you might not realize it because you see them on TV. We were talking about that the other day, but these guys are just physically very gifted. And then on top of that, they have the skill sets to back them up. And then you look at Division II, like a lot of those guys are guys who could have made a Division I roster, maybe as a walk-on, but now are the best players at their Division II level. So now you're talking about the guys who just quite weren't good enough for that, but they're still phenomenal players. I've known some guys that are in Division II that are just next level athletes, could shoot the lights out of the ball, could do all these different things. They just weren't physically gifted enough. But basketball players, they're phenomenal. They're great basketball players. And then Division III, I've known a bunch of guys that have had long careers overseas of being Division III players. And, you know, you're talking about like next level types of athletes, type of work ethics, type of builds, whatever it may be at every position. And guards are a dime a dozen. So if you're in that bracket, which majority of us are, sub 6'4", you know, trying to find our way, that means you got to really, really hone deep on what it is that you're looking to improve upon, what your skill set is, what you are great at. And all of those steps, all the way down to JUCO and NAIA, you're still going to have to figure that out. It's just going to be different requirements and different level of competition, but it's still, they're all great. So it just depends on where it is, but every single one of them are phenomenal.
Okay, let's go on to our next question here, and I'm going to put this out for everybody, even though they asked about someone specifically. If I want to go to your college, what's the most important thing that I can do?
That they can do.
That they can do.
I'll just start since I still have it. But I would just say grades are, I can't speak to everybody, but grades are extremely important. I mean, especially I'll speak to PUC specifically, but we have to rely heavily on academic funding. So if you have bad grades, you're not going to come on an athletics full ride scholarship. It's just not going to happen. And a lot of schools around there might not have the funding for that. Some do, some don't. But if you have good grades, that's automatically for us going to say, well, we check that one box, and we can say, well, we don't have to worry about that because we can already fund aspects of that. So if you got great grades, that's already a really good step. And then from a basketball standpoint, I would say I want to see work ethic. I want to see like what skill sets you're like really putting effort into. And I just want to see where your head is at a lot of times. Like it's going to come down to me meeting you, me seeing your game, and getting a good feel for who you are as a person, because I've dealt with the egos. I've dealt with all the people who think they should be some places, and we just don't have the time for that. Like we need somebody who has the self-awareness to come in and say, you know what, I have these deficiencies, or I'm good at these things, and I'm willing to work, and I'm going to put in the work. And whatever that is, I'm going to work with you, coach, and trust us in that process. Because if you don't trust us, you're not going anywhere. You're just going to be stagnant throughout your entire process.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that. For us, grades, you have to have at least a 3.0 to come play for us at Walla Walla. And then as a basketball player, define yourself. Start working on that now. Start to define what you do on the basketball court. You're going to be asked to do different things that you may not be comfortable with. Once you join a team, that's just the nature of the game. But you need to have some solid things that you do very, very well, whether that's defensively, offensively, or all the other things in between. And then promote yourself. If you want to, what should you do? You should promote yourself. So get a good highlight tape that does highlight what you do well. Very short though. Keep it under 3 minutes, 3 minutes or less, and get it to us. Send it to us. Email it to us. Promote yourself.
At Washington Venice, I mean, you have to apply, get accepted, complete FAFSA, athletically, and for me, I think that you really need to come watch us play, see the physicality, see how fast we play, see how we defend, and then ask yourself, if I was on the floor right now, how can I add value to the team? Like, how can I help Washington Adventists become a better team? Those are, to me, we have to start there. That's the baseline to, any and everything we do. So if you're coming in and it's like, you want us to give you something, it really doesn't work that way. Basically, it's about how you can add value. It's almost like, you're applying for a job. So, in your application for the job, you got to prove or show us that you're the best person for the job. And the only way that you can do that is to add value to what we're trying to do as a whole.
Absolutely. Man, I just want to piggyback everything that everybody said. I co-sign that 100%, from grades, having to have a 2.75 to get into Andrews, to just all of it, understanding your role, your identity as a basketball player, understanding how you fit into the system, if you can even fit into the system, all of those things. What I could add to that is to say, ask yourself, do you love it? Do you love the game? And I don't just mean, do you love playing basketball? We all love playing basketball, right? But what I mean when I say, do you love the game, is do you love everything that comes with it? Do you love the grind? Do you love the 5 a.m. workouts? Do you love going to the park or an empty gym and getting into work? Do you love just going and finding a run? Do you love doing what you're supposed to do in the classroom so that you don't have to worry about being ineligible? Do you love the spiritual aspect that it takes to have the character development to become the person that you need to become to be successful at anything you set forth to do? Like, so my question is, do you love it? Do you love every single thing that comes with the game? Because if you love it, there's nothing that you won't sacrifice to get where you want to get to.
Okay. This is a great time to put in one of our weight room questions. This person says, I don't lift weights on a regular basis. Will I still make a college basketball team?
I'm gonna go to one of our conversations earlier.
And be nice.
Yes. I guess I don't know the complete context behind it because I don't know how good of a basketball player you are. Because let's be real, we've seen some real skinny dudes be real good at the game. But I will say, just from what all these other coaches have mentioned, as far as the gap that we get from high school to college, you are now moving on from, let's just put some numbers on it, from 150 pound players to roughly 200 pound players. So we're kind of jumping into playing with more men and stronger dudes. And if you're on the court and you lack the strength and some physical attributes that help you from not getting thrown off, like you're driving down the lane and you get bumps and you get tossed to the side, versus if you're a little bit stronger, you can handle those bumps driving in, even boxing out, getting leverage, getting positions. What happens if there's a mismatch and you're down low? Can you handle the strength of a 6'8" guy trying to back you down, and can you take care of yourself? So I think that gap that happens from high school to college, it becomes detrimental to really add on strength to the body. And it will help your game immensely at a collegiate level. I know all these coaches here definitely look for their players to be in the weight room, to be getting stronger, just because so much does get added to the game.
Anyone else want to add or feel good about that?
Yeah, I'll tell you more. Just a reminder, basketball is a contact sport.
Thank you.
Right? It's a contact sport. So yes, you can be slim and play the game, but you have to actually be powerful and strong. You will get hit. You will be moved. All right. So somebody can be less talented than you, but stronger than you. You can be the most talented guy on the team and ride the bench because you are just too weak to be on the floor. So get in the weight room, get stronger for that purpose, but also for your own self. The game is a lot faster. The stops are a lot harder. Your body needs to withstand the normal wear and tear of practice. Right? There's so many guys that move up from high school to collegiate sports, and every sport, especially the ones that cut, and just get hurt. No contact, you just hurt all the time. So you need to lift not only just for the game itself, but to protect your body.
Good answer. I like that.
Kind of like Chase said, man, there is some skinny guys that like Chet Holmgren, you got Kevin Durant, Slim Reaper, but I want to remind you that those are outliers. That's not the norm. And if we look at the GOAT debate, right? We got LeBron and we got Michael Jordan. What set Michael Jordan apart and got him to start winning NBA championships? It was getting it off season in the weight room is what drove him to get to that next level, to be able to withstand the contact that he was absorbing, the punishment he was absorbing. Let's look at the next person in the GOAT debate. 6'8", 260 pounds. Okay, like all-time leading scorer. The all-time leading scorer before that, Karl Malone, 6'9", 260 pounds, solid rock muscle. So, do you need to necessarily lift weights to make it to the next level? Not if you're Kevin Durant, but if you're not, I advise you to get away from it. It's boys basketball in high school. It's men's basketball in college.
Thank you.
And to piggyback off of what Coach said, I think that, for us at Washington Adventist, we lift as a team. So you need to get used to lifting just because that's what we do as a basketball college program. So you have to forget everything you're doing in high school. Like, that's not going to carry weight for you in college. As you get older, as you evolve as a person, your body has to change. Your body has to evolve. You need to be in the weight room to make sure that you can go through a full college basketball season. You also have to learn how to recover. Recovery is very important. Getting ice baths, making sure you're taking care of your body, eating right. So there's a whole lot of those things that you definitely have to do to being in a college program.
Well, we've talked about physical attributes. Now let's go positional. And this is my question. I think it's pretty common knowledge that there's one talented big per 1,000 guards out there, right? If I am an average-sized everything guard, what can I do for your program specifically to set myself apart?
Yeah, we both got something. Yeah. All right. So I am a 6 foot flat guard, right? That is what I was. So I speak very candidly about this as somebody who had a high level of success, and I'll tell you guys more about that when you're actually here, but despite the odds, Coach Chase and I talk about it a lot. And one thing you have to do is you have to find that thing that, like Coach Jerry was talking about, adds value to the team. What can you do as an undersized person that adds value to the team? And I tell you what, and this kind of goes to this question we just answered, it is not being 150 pounds soaking wet, not in the weight room, not trying to get stronger, not trying to do those things, if you're a turnstile on defense, it's going to be bad. So defense needs to be a priority. You have to be able to guard the guy in front of you. And if you can only guard guards, that's fine, but then you got to say that the defense I'm playing on these guards has got to be very, very, very strong defense. And then you have to find that other thing. Are you a passer? Are you a shooter? Are you a guy who's going to be just running the floor like a fiend? Are you just getting up and you filling the spots? Do you know all the plays? Sometimes it's going to be difficult, especially initially, to find your place on the team. But if you can find a way to provide value, talk with your coach, find out what they need, or look and see yourself and try and fill that role. Because there are roles for every single team. And the more trust you can gain from your coach, the more they're willing to put you on the floor. That's just a fact. If I can trust you to be on the floor and not just get killed, then I know that I can trust you with these other things. And if you have something that you're good at, if you're a really good shooter, then you need to be the best shooter on the team. That is something you need to sell out for, and just say, well, when coach puts me in for my 2 minutes and I get my 3-point shot, I better hit him. Because if I don't hit him, you're not staying on the floor. So you have to be ready for those moments and those little opportunities you may get as a sub, 6'2" guard or whatever you are, to be able to say, I'm ready for those moments. I can be whatever a coach needs me to be in that moment and fill those roles. And you might not get a lot of minutes to start off with, but over time, if you develop and you work really hard to become a better player, you will find those roles, hopefully, eventually, if you really stay committed to it. So that's kind of that's my advice, to find that thing that you're good at and really become great at it. Be the best on your team at that thing.
Yeah, it was great advice there. I've been trying to figure out how to explain this, but there are tangibles and intangibles. And as we've all been in the game, there's no such thing as intangibles. what that's referring to is things that don't get statted. So you need to, if you're an everyday guard, you need 1.5 tangibles, meaning I'm a solid ball handler, but I'm a great shooter, or I'm a decent shooter, decent ball handler, but I'm a great passer. And then the intangibles being knowing all the plays, or a great communicator, or you box out, or you run the lanes hard. The things that I guess they say don't show up on the stat sheet, but they matter to the cohesiveness of a team. And then you just become valuable. So those things are important. So if you really, my formula again is 1.5 tangibles, 2 intangibles, and you master those, you become a very important player.
For guards, I think that when, I pretty much look at it in terms of your height and size. When you're 5'10" and under, you have to be disruptive. You have to be able to guard 94 feet. You have to be able to impact the game and be able to take the other team out of what they want to do. So you have to be more of an asset than you are a liability. There are too many good coaches out here in college basketball, and they will find the mismatches. They will find ways to try to post you up. So you got to be able to fight. You got to be able to, you got to be able to at least hold resistance long enough that, or so much so that we as a team aren't constantly over helping, to compensate for you. If you're a person that we have to constantly have to overhelp to compensate for, now you become a liability. So it's very difficult for us to put you on the floor, regardless of what you can do for us on the offensive end. You just cannot, and let me reiterate, you cannot be a liability on the defensive end for us.
I love that. I love everything you guys are saying, man. When I think of like average guard, I think ordinary athleticism, ordinary skill set, all of those things. And if you are average across the board in everything, you have to become extraordinary in the things that the guys who have high athleticism and high skill set, that they're average in. And so a lot of times, I'll give you an example, guys like Russell Westbrook, ridiculously athletic. He becomes too reliant on that athleticism, and he never really developed his game to be potentially one of the top 5 point guards of all time, right? And so he turns the ball over a lot. He never really got his jump shot down pat, all of those things. But all of those things are things that an ordinary average person can develop. You can develop an extraordinary basketball IQ. You can execute extraordinarily. You can play defense extraordinarily because it has nothing to do with athleticism. It has to do with heart, will, desire, and IQ to be able to know what's going on, know the tendency of your opponent, right? And so you have to find your niche, whatever that is, whether you're high athleticism, high skill, or average, or any of that stuff. And if you're very, very average and you find yourself in the middle of the mix, then you need to set yourself apart with your work ethic, with your study, with your execution, and with your IQ, with your footwork, all things that you can control just by putting in the work that other people are not willing to put in because they're reliant on their natural abilities.
Okay, so we've pretty much given the recipe of exactly what they're looking for, physically and now positionally. Let's talk about recruiting, okay? Almost every question had something about recruiting. So I'm gonna pick the most popular one. Do I have to play AAU in order to be recruited to your college? Whoever.
Absolutely not. I mean, if you got, nowadays everybody got cell phones, everybody's got somebody recording them 24/7. What I look for, I can pretty much find it by looking at context clues in the videos you send me. So if you're sending me clips from whether it's an open gym, an AAU tournament, a high school game, a JUCO game, whatever the clips are, one of the first things I'm looking at anyway is your competition level, because that's going to help me determine your environment, the terrain you're in, all of those type intangible things that Coach was talking about. But when I'm looking for a specific player that I'm recruiting, number one, it's going to depend on the personnel that I already have existing. So you could be a phenomenal point guard, but I've got 9 guards returning. So I'm not recruiting any guards this year, right? So what I'm looking for is something very, very specific. If I'm looking for a big, I might be looking for somebody that's a rim runner. I might be looking for somebody that's a rim protector. So I'm looking for very, very specific things, which goes back to some of the prior questions about knowing what your niche is and having a role and having an identity on that team and owning that and being the best possible player that you can be at those things and separating yourself from the competition. So no, you do not have to play AAU basketball. You don't necessarily have to play high level basketball. But some of the things that I'm looking for from guys that don't necessarily play high level basketball or AAU ball is the intangibles that coach is talking about, like footwork, your decision making, your shot selection. In the videos that you guys are sending, is everything you're sending is like a spot up jump shot? Is it you creating? Is it dynamic? Is there different aspects to your game? Do you have great footwork in the post? Do you play great defense? So no, you don't have to play AAU basketball, but you have to be polished.
I would say no, you don't have to play AAU basketball. I'm a coach who comes from the AAU environment. I will say that anyone on the Nike EYBL circuit that wants to play at Washington Adventist University, we will take you. But no, you don't have to play AAU. It's about your development. Like, you have to identify what you need. There's strength, there's weaknesses, and there's work in progress. So you have to, whatever your weakness is, you have to turn that weakness to work in progress, and you have to turn those work in progress into strengths. And you can't do that unless you're out there working. One thing, and whether it's high school, AAU, no matter what environment it is, it's the competitiveness. It's, can I go out and compete and help my team win? Because at some point you have to go from cones and training and all of that to actually playing against live people. So no, you don't have to play AAU to answer the question, but it doesn't hurt at all if you play on a high major AAU team, because it means you pretty much have already been vetted, and you're probably one of the top 5 or 6 players in your state.
Yeah. No, you don't have to play travel ball. You don't have to play AAU or travel ball, but you do need to play organized ball. Organized basketball, I prefer you play for your school team, where you have a position or you have a role that makes sense. The reason that travel ball or AAU ball is not very appealing to me is because a lot of times it's not very structured and you don't practice that often. So you're able to do things that honestly you can't do. And so it looks good until you're put into a real situation and then you realize, yeah, you can't do that. And what we say about can't is it's relative in basketball. Everything is relative. It's about success rate, meaning if I gave you 10 possessions doing between the leg side steps, how many of those are you going to hit? All right. And if you're only going to hit 2 or 3 of those, you can't do that. Right. So that's what we're talking about. So when people tell you that, please don't take that to heart. Oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. That means your success rate is too low for us to depend on this in a game. So that means either go work on it if that's what you really want to do, go get way better at it. So you're at 46 to 60% success rate against defense in real live situations with referees and all of that. Can you do this under the lights? If you can't do it under the lights, you can't do it. And we're not going to let you do it. So you don't get opportunities to develop in game. That's not how it works. All right. You're not getting those shots. So if that's what you're thinking in high school, I just don't let me do anything in the game, because you won't succeed at it. We don't set you up to fail. I'm asking you to do the things I believe you can do. And you've actually, not even I believe, you've proven you can do. All right. You've proven you can do this in practice. You're going to be allowed to do it in the game. So no, you don't have to play AAU, but you definitely need to play organized basketball.
They all said it. I mean, it's a fact. You don't have to play it, but the organized basketball thing is key. I have some opinions about AAU ball. It just depends on where you are. I think there's a high level of variance. I think there are some great organizations out there that great programs that train well and that prioritize the proper amount of skill development plus, like competition level and, I mean, we can just go down the line, but then there's also a lot of organizations out there that are just in it to collect a paycheck and to kind of take advantage of this youth basketball movement. And unfortunately, that's the case. So you have to be very careful about just the term. Not all AAU ball is good ball. Not all high school basketball is good basketball. Not all basketball anywhere is going to be good basketball. So you have to be very particular about what you're looking at, what their goals are, what the purpose of that is. You're safer in a high school setting just because it's governed by a school body. And so I agree with all that. But yeah, you don't have to. But my advice, just not to repeat everything they said, is just to be very careful if you are participating in it as to what the main goals and motivations and how the program is run. If they're just running you out there to let you do whatever, you're not really learning anything. You're just getting cardio. You're getting glorified cardio at that point. You might play some good competition, but that doesn't necessarily always translate to anything that a college would translate to look for. So it's a great opportunity to get some extra tape. If you have a good organization, if you can find a good organization, great. But it's not a necessity.
Okay, our last question. What should my off season look like? Maybe we can start in the weight room and then.
Sir.
Oh man, all right. My brain could go for a minute on this one here. As far as the weight room side of things, it kind of depends on one of the things I like as far as a strength coach in the off season is I have to figure out how much stress you're applying to your body. So if you're playing 5 days a week in your off season, we're gonna have a really tough time in the weight room trying to get building muscle, trying to building size, vertical, whatever you're looking for. It's really hard to do. So personally for me, I at least want 3 days in the weight room too. And I do think I can't answer for all these other coaches, but I do think it's really hard to hit the weight room 3-4 times a week and be playing 3 to 5 times in a week as well. So you got to find balance within your schedule, which hit me up on social media. I'm always willing to help with that. Try to help you balance out how much you should be on the court. And I bet these coaches can tell you how much they expect you on the court. And then you can wrap around what you need to do during the off season that way too, in the weight room. So personally, weight room thing, we can get a lot done with 3 days a week in there, and managing how strong you want to get, what goals you need to be doing, working on. But yeah, 3 days a week, I would at least say that's got to be critical to get in on the off season.
Absolutely. I was a strength coach for like 10 years in different environments for different sports as well. So I'm with you, like 3 days minimum. And what I would piggyback and add to that is find a workout routine or a strength coach like Chase or myself. You reach out to me on my socials, and get a program that is going to be specific to your needs, which is going to require what Shane and I have talked about a lot this week is self-awareness, okay? So like you gotta understand if you need to improve your vertical, if you need to get more explosive, if you need to get bigger, faster, strong, whatever the situation is, if you need to lose weight, whatever the situation is, you need to commit to it, which kind of goes back to what we're talking about, like how much do you love it, right? So weight room minimum 3 days a week. I would say playing ball in some sort of environment, whether it's open rec or leagues or something, 3 days a week too is fine. Take a day to rest or even active rest, whether that's doing yoga, some kind of stretching or just getting some shots up. And you need to be getting shots up 5, 6, 7 days a week, okay? 6 days a week, man. Like get in there, get up 300 to 500 shots a day. And don't just get up shots, made shots is more important because you don't want to practice bad mechanics. You want to focus on good mechanics, okay? So I would say 3 days a week in the weight room, specific plan to you, 2 to 3 days a week playing some type of open rec or finding a tournament or a league or something to get in, and then focusing on your skills, getting up tons and tons of shots, and then working on something specific to what your role is going to be in. And this part is going to require you actually talking to your high school basketball coach, finding out what his expectations are, going back and watching film from the season, seeing what your opportunities in the offense are to score, and then building skills and drills around the opportunities that are relative to you as an individual. That's how you're going to help your team. That's how you're going to help your coach. That's how you're going to stand out and get to the next level.
I think this question is unique to each individual program. Uh, if you're coming to Washington Adventist University, you better get on that track and start running. You better get that cardio in. You really, really, really should be getting at least 2 to 5 miles in a week in terms of running and making sure you get very good cardio. And it's just because of our style of play. You need to analyze honestly analyze where you are and where you're trying to go. And it goes back to what I said before, asset, liability, strengths, and weaknesses. So how can you be an asset to the program? Do I need to get stronger? Do I need to build muscle endurance? Do I need to build muscle strength? Do I need to get a quicker twitch? Do I need to be more agile? Also, when you work out with your trainer, I understand, I really do understand 80-90% is spent on offensive stuff. Tell your trainer you need to work on some defensive stuff, defensive slides. You need to work on boxing out. You need to work on all those types of things that will impact games and will get you on the floor.
Yeah, I don't want to take too much time. They cover most of it. What I tell my players is when you get to your skills training, right? So what should you be working on? I always say work on a strength. I actually say 2 strengths and a weakness. That should be your summer. All right. So meaning the thing you do best, you need to make that something you master, and you are just elite at that. The thing you do second best needs to become really, really good, and then something you do terribly, you need to be working on that all summer to make that something you can do well. All right. And then you kind of repeat that cycle until you increase your overall skill set. But everything else, yeah, condition, strength, all of that, you need that. Weight room 3 times a week. I would say, you definitely need to specifically train 2 to 3 times a week and then play once or twice a week. So that gives you 6 days of work right there, and then rest. That's not because we're Adventists, but just rest at least a day. Don't do anything, or stretch, and then come back to it. You need your body to recover, and the rest is very important in that.
Again, they covered it all. The only thing I want to speak on very quickly is, and Coach Broom and I talked about this last night. You have to be intentional. And the intentionality of this is, we talked about getting in 300 makes. And to us, we know exactly what that means. But I've seen it in a lot of high schoolers that does not, and even some college guys, but at least most of the time they're not doing this. I hope. But you go into the gym and you're dribbling around, you're taking a bunch of shots, and yeah, you might hit 300 over 2 hours or however long it takes you, or an hour, something like that. If you got the gun, that's hopefully keeping you more in line. But I've seen far too many guys just go out, just do whatever for 2 hours, just shooting the ball around. Sure, that's cool. That's fun. And if you just need one of those days just to enjoy it, that's cool. If you want to do that every once in a while, just go out there, just mess around, have some fun with it. Because we got to, at the end of the day, love the game that we're playing. But when you're going out there and you're working, when you are working on stuff, that's playing around. When you are working, you have to be intentional about what you are doing. So if you go out there, don't just start doing 50 between behind fader threes. No. Go out there, understand that in a game, 90% of your shots are going to be one dribble pull-ups, they're going to be catch and shoots, they're going to be a lot of these things, and you got to rep the footwork and the mechanics and everything that goes into that. So when you go out there, you need to have a specific plan that hits those things. Not, going out there and saying, well, I was outside for 2 hours working out. You got to think to yourself and ask yourself, was I actually working out, or was I just shooting around? And I think if you're honest with yourself, a lot of times, a lot of guys are going to have to acknowledge the fact that you were shooting around, you weren't working out. And the quicker you can realize the difference between the two, the better you will become. So through the course of your off season, I love what Coach Broom said about the 2 goods and what was it, 2 goods and a weakness? Yeah. So finding those 2 things and really repping them out, but being intentional about it all. If you have no intentionality with your workouts, your off season is going to be wasted. You're going to come back in, you're going to feel like you're better, and you're actually going to be in the exact same position that you were in because you really didn't work on anything. You just hit a couple shots doing some stuff that you're never going to do in a game. So it's cool to work on that stuff or hit some of those things every once in a while, but 95% of your work needs to be on the stuff that's happening in the game. 99%. That 1% can be for the fun, stuff we just mess around doing. But don't spend too much time on that. It's wasted energy. It's wasted effort. You need to be very focused, hyper focused on what you need to be getting better at.
I have an addition.
Oh, yes.
So yeah, going back to that, because I feel this is a question we all wanted to know. What do you mean by focus on what I'm working on? So how this means is each move has a lot of things to it. Ball position, right? Do I have the ball in the right spot? Am I exposing it? Balance, pacing of this move. Where would the contact happen? Especially if you have somebody, your dad or your uncle, whoever helps you get better. When I make this move, where do I normally get bumped? All right. So adding in those elements so that you actually are improving the precision of the move. So that's what we're talking about when we say work on something specific. It's about making it more precise. So yeah, you're between the legs is great in college. I mean, in high school. Then you get to college and you get ripped, and you don't understand why this is happening. So it's about the details of your move, the details of your footwork, your positioning, your steps. Where are you going, right? So pay attention. When you make your moves, a lot of people, especially when they make crossovers, they end up facing the sideline, right? As they finish a move. So that's just one example. When you make a crossover, you should still be facing the rim. You should still be going north and south. You should not be going east and west, even though the ball went east and west. So some of that's going to make sense to you guys, some of it's not, but it's about the details of the move. Did you stay down? Did you come out of the move? Meaning your hip level. So I was low at the beginning and then I stood up to run. That's going to get you knocked off your line. So all of those different details you need to be focused on while you're working on this move you've been doing since you were 6 years old that you think you have down pat. You don't have it, all right? Basketball is a perishable skill. Everyone has to work on the same things over and over and over and over and over, all right? You don't have it. Okay, that's a humbling thing about athletics that we all learn that helps you in everything else outside of it. Stephen Curry is the greatest shooter we've ever seen, and he has a shooting coach. Okay, greatest shooter we've ever seen, and his dad was one of the best ones we've ever seen, and they hire someone to help them improve their shooting. Okay, you don't have it. All right. You may understand it, you still need to get better, and there are levels and levels and levels and levels that you will not discover until you get in that deep water and find out that the ocean is deeper than you thought. Okay?
I wish you were my coach.
I think it's important too that there are so many lessons in failure. So don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to go out there, work, and not get it right, but I still got to continue to work. It's a weakness that I have to make a strength. And the only way I can make a strength is, to figure it out, to have some failure, and then through failure, through work, it becomes something of success. But that only comes with work, and work is not a curse word. I know some of y'all think work is not a curse word. So really appreciate the work and be, as Coach said, be very intentional with your work so that you're just not wasting your time. Time is the most important asset you have in your life. So value that time.
Man, since y'all leaving on last notes, I might as well answer. No, what I would leave you guys with, man, is this. I know the questions are done, but discipline and consistency are the keys to the freedom kingdom. I'm going to say that again because I know that went over some of your heads. Discipline and consistency are the keys to the freedom kingdom. So I'll tell you a story. If you don't know who Bear Bryant is, go look him up later after this. Bear Bryant, legendary football coach at Alabama. He had an All-American running back on his team. He had tons of All-Americans that went through his system. In the preseason, they would run this dive handoff. And they would run it until your toes bleed. This All-American running back is sitting there thinking to himself, like, man, why are we doing this elementary level? Like, I'm doing this since I was in third grade. Let's do something else. Let's work on this. So he got bold enough to go speak to the great Bear Bryant and say to him, like, Coach, why are we doing this elementary? Like, I think we got it down. And Bear Bryant turned to him and said, the object is not to do it until you get it right. It's to do it until you can't get it wrong. And that's what Coach Broom is talking about when he says that, like, you don't have it, right? It's a perishable skill. And if you're not consistently working on it and disciplining yourself to do it when you don't feel like doing it, then you'll lose it. And someone else is hungrier than you and coming behind you, because if you're the man, all that means is if you're 1 out of 100, that means there's 99 guys that have a target on your back. And if you're 2 through 100, then that means you have an opportunity to move up the ladder. No matter where you are on that chain, discipline and consistency are going to be the keys to the Freedom Kingdom.
Beautiful. Well, look, you've heard from all the coaches now. If you want to actually get coached by them, all you got to do is come to an Advent Sports College Prep Camp. We'll get you hooked up. All these guys, they're great leaders, great men. We hope we see you soon.